There's only 4 words. This one's for John. This one's for Pat.
What is going on, guys? Welcome to an episode of NFL with Kyle. Jacksonville Jaguars have made a massive move today. And I'm a huge Jaguars, I wouldn't say fan. They're not my favorite team. Hold on. I'm seeing a lag. I got a newer-ish webcam. And if it's going to be lagging, I'm not going to be rolling with it. So let me just check on YouTube if I'm lagging. It looks okay. Okay. Well, from what I can see, it looks worse on my end than it does on YouTube's end. Yep. We're good to go. All right, just had to make sure, and luckily for me, there's nobody in here. But if you're watching this later, go ahead and fast forward, hit that button, double tap to skip 30 seconds worth of junk, and forgive me for the rookie mistake. Let's get back into it. I'm a big fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars. My family moved to Jacksonville when I was 8. Jacksonville was pretty much a terrible team that entire time, with the exception of, I believe, 2009, when David Garrard led them to victory over the Steelers. And you had Maurice Jones-Drew, of course, Fred Taylor when I was younger, then Maurice Jones-Drew, but a team that never really had star power. And as a young kid, a team that I never said, oh my God, it's so sick that we live where the Jaguars play. Actually, the Jaguars were quite the opposite of that. There was no hype. The games were often blacklisted. They were a team that the fans really wanted to embrace. And when you went to a Jaguars game, you could see the fans trying. They had an old thing. It was, that's good for Jacksonville, first down. Move those chains, move those chains, move those chains, move them. I don't even know what happened to that, but it was evident eventually. I don't know if it was the third, fourth, fifth time I went to a Jaguars game, because we used to go to all the Texans games, which happened every year because a family friend played for the Texans, Kevin Walter. So we used to go to that game. So I've been to a lot of Jaguars games. And at some point I realized, look, the Jacksonville Jaguars just aren't putting a good enough product on the field for the fan base to really get behind them. They're trying to get into it. They're going through the motions. They're going to the tailgate. But at the end of the day, there's way too many seats in this stadium for the type of product they've put on the field in the last decade. Okay. And honestly, that is why you see some people saying, I mean, honestly, it's most people, Trevor Lawrence was not underpaid. The value that he brings to the Jacksonville Jaguars is unmatched to anybody that's ever joined the Jaguars. A coach, a player, a GM, a new owner. This is the best move for the Jaguars. The best move they've ever made is long-term contract with Trevor Lawrence, meaning that Jacksonville is going to have an opportunity to play for the postseason every single year. When you have a quarterback that gives you a chance to win 10 games every season, you do what you can to pay him. And for the first time in my lifetime, I turned 30 in a month. The first time Jacksonville is actually a team that's not only exciting to watch, they're filling up their stadium. And what is the main difference? They have a franchise quarterback David Garrard was not the long-term answer. Byron Leftwich was not it. Blake Bortles had one good year. They constantly got this position wrong. And finally, Trevor Lawrence comes in and fixes. And it just shows you, look, if you don't have the quarterback position, you don't have anything. If you don't have the quarterback, you don't have anything. Jacksonville has not only given the fans a reason to go to the games again, but a legitimate reason to think that they can be a Super Bowl contender. So, no, I wasn't shocked when they paid Trevor Lawrence. But you look at that contract mixed with the news of today. Jacksonville approves a $1.4 billion stadium of the future that should keep the Jaguars in town for decades. So by keeping, because honestly, what was going to move Jaguars to London when everybody was talking about it? Because the Jaguars have played more games in London than any other team. Even when I was a young kid, they would go to London and play. The Jaguars were often considered the favorites to be the first overseas team and become the London Jaguars. That was a realistic thing that could have happened. Now with Trevor Lawrence on this long-term contract, the Jacksonville Jaguars are staying at home, and this $1.4 billion stadium of the future is another layer on top of that should keep the Jaguars in the town for decades. Okay, so the city approved the 1.4 billion. Did I say million? Not even close. Billion stadium of the future today, and that'll keep the Jaguars, or that happened yesterday, but that should keep the Jaguars in one of the NFL's smallest markets for at least another 30 years, and kind of put an end to all the speculation about the franchise being a potential relocation candidate. City council members voted 14-1. 2 abstained in favor of the proposal, which now advances to the NFL owners for final approval. Owners are scheduled to meet in Atlanta in October, with 24 of the 32 votes needed to seal the deal. The Jaguars don't anticipate much pushback from the league, even though the 50-50 financial split is higher than most NFL owners contribute towards new or renovated stadiums. So I'm curious, the 50-50 financial split is higher than most NFL owners contribute. Wouldn't that help the Jaguars? I mean, you're asking for less money from the city? To me, that sounds like a good thing. Well, let's continue. The stadium proposal calls for each side to contribute $625 million to the $1.25 billion project. Jacksonville, which won't levy any new taxes to fund the rebuild, would chip in another $150 million in deferred maintenance to get Everbank Stadium ready for construction in 2026. That essentially pushes the city's contribution to 55% of the total bill. Construction would begin following the 2025 season. The Jaguars would play in front of a reduced capacity, no upper deck in 2026. And then they would host games in Gainesville, that's where where the Florida Gators play, or Orlando the following year. The proposal includes a 30-year lease, a non-relocation agreement, and a provision that limits the number of games that the Jaguars can play outside of Jacksonville. This is really interesting. This little tidbit that's kind of tacked into this whole deal is that they have a non-relocation agreement, which tells me that maybe the NFL making Jacksonville go to London sometimes 2 weeks out of the season is something that Shad Khan and the Jaguars don't necessarily love. And now, under the new lease, the Jaguars would play all their preseason and postseason home games in Jacksonville. But they would continue to play one home game per year in London, likely at Wembley Stadium, if I had to take a guess. Both sides are expect the revamped stadium to lead to more high-profile events, probably a Super Bowl. The Jaguars agreed to take on all construction cost overruns, assume day-to-day operations of the stadium, and bear 80.4% of game day expenses moving forward. Okay, I'm gonna continue, but let me see this. Hey, Kyle, good to see you, man. Absolutely embrace the struggle. Happy to have you in here. This is some incredible news. Bill said no more London rumors now. And totally was just getting at that. So the proposed 63,000 seat open air stadium includes a translucent covering that's the equivalent of wearing shades in the sun. Team president Mark Lamping has said it's expected to lower outside temperatures by 15 degrees. How sick is this? If you guys haven't seen the thumbnail to this video on YouTube, go check out the thumbnail. There's a picture of what this is going to look like. And I don't know if some, maybe SoFi, I don't know if any of the other stadiums have a translucent covering. But in Jacksonville, when it's often 100 degrees in September, this is going to come in handy, right? Because sometimes teams want to keep it hot because they consider it more as a disadvantage for them, the opponent, and an advantage to the home team. But it looks like Jacksonville is like, nah, it's not an advantage for anybody. Let's just get it cooler in here. It's too hot. It's so hot that when I went to the Chiefs-Jaguars game, I went outside to do the interview outside, just walking around and trying to interview Jaguar fans. I set up my podcast right outside the stadium, and guess what? In about 3 minutes, all of my equipment shut down because it was overheating. That's a real thing that happened. Okay, that's how hot it is. Capacity could be expanded to 71,500 to accommodate the annual, of course, Florida-Georgia rivalry. If you guys aren't from Jacksonville, you probably don't realize just how big of a deal the Florida-Georgia game is, but it is insane. In every single year it's played in Jacksonville. They call it the Gator Bowl. A college football playoff game or the Final Four would also lead to the capacity being expanded to 71,500. Pools and a party deck would remain in the north end zone. For those of you that don't know, there is a swimming pool and a party deck that you can float in while watching the game. I happen to be entirely too passionate about football to be floating around in a pool while the game is going on. But if I didn't care all that much about the game, I would definitely be in that pool. The city and the Jaguars still hope to add substantial development to the surrounding area, which, guys, hear me out on this. This is so important. So important. When we talk about a stadium, building a really dope-ass stadium, the surrounding area is so important. It really is. I mean, that's why you see, like, where the Patriots play, they have shopping center right outside there. Arlington, the new plans that were released from the Chicago Bears have areas to walk around. Look, when you're driving to a Jags game, you are going through not just the hood, but you are going through the hood in a desolate area, which is different than just going through the hood. You go a couple blocks and it's like there's nothing. And you just follow the GPS and you're like, are you sure? And then finally you get to the stadium. The parking situation sucks. If you're driving into the stadium, you go down all these sketchy roads and then you end up being in a line of cars for an entire hour just to try to park. This is not like other major cities. Like if you're in Denver, you get on the light rail, it drops you off right in front of the stadium. If you're in a major city, and you might say Jacksonville's not a major city. Well, it is in a way. It is the biggest city in the United States area-wise. And on top of that, it's not that much to ask for to like you're going to spend this much millions of dollars on Everbank Field, but you're not going to invest in the surrounding area. Newsflash, if you invest in the surrounding area, it's going to increase the property value of the stadium and vice versa for the businesses. This is just good business. And it looks like Shad Khan understands that. Shad Khan is like, definitely this has been put in his ear. It would look really weird if Jacksonville had that translucent billion-dollar stadium and the surrounding area didn't change. It would be really weird. It would be like those memes of Devontae Smith's rookie year when the Eagles sucked, and there was a meme that was like Devontae Smith on the Eagles, and it was a Ferrari parked outside of a mobile home. That's literally the Jaguars. But the city, okay, plans to, I guess, build, it doesn't say what it's going to be, but build some sort of shopping, restaurants in the surrounding area to the stadium. And that's critical for the long-term success of Jacksonville's downtown. And this is, I mean, if you've been to Jacksonville, downtown sucks. Like, you have Riverside, you have 5 Points, but it's not like other cities. In other cities, you go downtown to the city, there's restaurants, there's food, there's live music, there's energy. There's an energy in the city. There's an awakeness. There is a pep in people's step. There's a bounciness. There's busyness. There's sometimes an overwhelming amount of energy. When you're downtown in Jacksonville, it feels like you're in a dead city. That's really what it feels like. So I do think that in order to get this approved, Jacksonville and the owners understood that, hey, this can't just be about the stadium, but this has to also benefit the city of Jacksonville. How can this be a win-win for both of us? And in my opinion, this is such a big deal, this news today. The city plans to finance its portion of the deal by moving $600 million from a capital improvement plan and using the revenue from an existing half-penny sales tax to fund the build-in as you pay as you go campaign. Look, this is all like rich people shit. I have no idea what that means. It just sounds like there's piles of money and they're taking one pile and they're liquidating and taking the equity, whatever. Okay. Doesn't really matter. Unless you guys care about that, you can look into it. But like, I don't care how the city affords it. All I care about is taxpayers paying for it. Are they not? If they're not, okay. So Shad Khan's paying for it. Yeah, they're going 50-50 with the city. That's all I care about. If you're a finance person, you probably like those details, but not here. The Jaguars plan to fund part of its portion through the NFL's G4 program, which provides financial assistance for stadium projects. Funding through the program is considered a loan and is repaid from the visiting team's share of certain seating. A team applying for the loan is required to put up matching dollars. More finance stuff that I don't understand. But embrace the struggle. Devontae Smith is the man. And Bill said, Titletown, Pittsburgh, you got stuff around them. SoFi is kind of clear. That's what I thought as well. And Bill said it means books are being cooked, Kyle. And that's exactly why I don't get into it, is because we laugh about it. But come on. We all know that there's some sketchy stuff going on. All right. So the Jaguars, man, let's take a look at this stadium. Let's take a look at it. I don't know if you guys saw the thumbnail on this video, but I got it right here. So images, here we go. This does look insane, and of course, I'll get into that in a second. Let me just show the picture really quick. All right, so here it is. Jaguars new stadium. These are the drawings of it, okay? I will say, okay, my uncle, he went to school for architecture. And recently I was going through his portfolio and I was learning a lot about, okay, why did you design this? What was the assignment here? And what I didn't realize about architecture, well, I guess I wasn't really giving architecture the credit it deserves, is that before you even design a place, you're supposed to go to whatever it's going to be, and you're supposed to feel how it's supposed to feel where you're building the building. So the building has a feeling, and as an architecture, you are kind of the heart behind the building, and you have to say, okay, and then you take in, that's there's an artistic side of it that is kind of like painting, right? There, it's a feeling. It's what makes you an artist. It's what makes some of the architects the best in the world, is that they are artists. But then there's a logical side of it. That's what I'll call it. The wind's blowing in this direction, so we're going to want a wind funnel here. Like all that kind of stuff comes into play. But I'm more intrigued with the art side of it. And looking at this stadium, I mean, I got to say, if there was a way to kind of make, like, it looks like fancy Jaguars. Let me show you one more time. Now, think about, because this has like a teal look to it, doesn't it? This translucent look. I mean, is that the ocean in the background? There's no ocean in the background. Is that supposed to be that there's no water back there? But my point is that this does feel like the Jaguars stadium. And sometimes you look at the drawings for a building and you go, that doesn't even look like that doesn't even look like you'd play a football game there. I think they did a really good job. I think they knocked that one out of the park. I thought Buffalo did as well. When you saw that the Buffalo Bills drawings for their new building, I said it looks like the Bills are going to play there. Same thing with the Jaguars. Honestly, learning all that about architecture and seeing the amount of cubicles and office buildings with white walls and fluorescent lighting inside. And I started to go down this rabbit hole where I really started to believe that postmodern architecture is designed to depress you. It is not designed to make you feel a certain way. And I think it is important, if you're trying to get the right energy out of your employees, it's like, how do we want to make them feel? Right nowadays, billionaires are like, well, look, we don't really care how our employees feel. They're going to come here and we're going to pay them. That's not part of the architecture. We're not going to consider that. We just need office space. Okay. But when you look at football, something that people are still passionate about, and of course, it is such a lucrative business that you do get the passion. You do get to see, like, oh, that's what a really amazing building looks like. And that's what's so cool about this, is that in my life, I feel like that kind of has, in a way, died a little bit. But every time an NFL team releases a new stadium, it's like, wow, that's so cool. That is just so cool. I wish I saw it more. I really do. Bill said, meanwhile, MetLife is literally built on a swamp. And then Embrace the Struggle said, depends though. Honestly. Yeah, it does. I'm not trying to be, super negative or anything. But the more I learned about architecture, the more I realized there's no way that people are putting this much thought, care, attention, time into some of the buildings that we're seeing. Okay. But yes, congratulations to Duval for getting a new stadium. Can't wait to check it out after it's built. The city, I think you guys deserve this one. You've endured, right? All those games that I went to where the fans showed up and they were trying to cheer, but there was nothing to cheer about. And they were trying to just muster just fake passion. Just fake it till you make it. That's what it was like. Everybody's like, no, let's go Jags. Let's just see what happens. Let's just cheer for them again. Maybe they'll win. And they never did. And now they got a franchise quarterback. They got a nice new stadium coming, and it pays off, right? In the end, winning doesn't feel as good if you don't know what it feels like to be on the other side. In Jacksonville is turning a major page. You could even say they're in a whole new book now. And I'm just glad for all the great people of Jacksonville. You deserve it. You deserve it. And Bill said, what does the Duval thing mean? I legit don't know. Okay. Duval County. So Duval is one of the counties in Jacksonville. That's where I grew up, Duval County. So that's it. That's all it is it's the county that the Jaguars play in. Okay. So there was something that came out that I wanted to go to. And by the way, this isn't going to be a crazy long episode today. But I did want to cover this 2024 NFL all rookie team. And this is projecting 4 instant impact newcomers on defense / special teams. So we're going to take a look. And as we know, every single year for these rookies, getting thrown into the fire is not an easy task. I mean, the information is like you take it by a fire hose. You go from lining up against college competitors to some of the best in the world. No, the best in the world. The top performing rookies typically come from the first round. It's not very surprising when you get to this level of skill. There's really no luck involved. I know there's still players that'll throw that around, but they don't mean that they were lucky. They mean that they got lucky that they were drafted to a really good head coach or a really good team or a really good city. That's the type of luck they're talking about. As far as raw talent goes, the people that are you can't miss draft picks, typically those are the guys that end up being the best. And then in the second and the third round, it teeters down a little bit. And then there's a major drop off from that point. Okay. So the way that this was done was that 2 were picked in rounds 4 through 7 and 2 were undrafted. This was last year. So 2023's all rookie team, 2 of the picks were round 4 through 7. And I'll tell you their names, Antonio Johnson and punter Bryce Baringer. Those were the 2 players on the all-rookie team in 2023 from rounds 4 to 7. 2 of them were undrafted, believe it or not. Vikings linebacker Ivan Pace Jr. and Cowboys kicker Brandon Aubrey, both undrafted, made the all-rookie team. Okay, the rest of the top defenders and special teamers were day 1 or day 2 picks, including guys like Devin Witherspoon, Will Anderson Jr., Jalen Carter, etc. All 3 of the ones I just named came off the board in the top 10. So the projections for the defenders on the 2024 all-rookie team leans heavily on early round picks with 1 day 3 selection included. All 3 of the special teamers were taken on day 3. So let's take a look at the projections. I'm going to say right now, I think that there's going to be a team that's going to have 2 players that they drafted this year in round 1 and round 2 on the all rookie team. And it's Jared Verse and it's Brandon Fisk. I know you're like, really? Both of them? Yes, honestly, both of them. These guys are going to first, they played together at Florida State. So they are going to have that continuity going in. They're going to be, this can be a dynamic duo. A lot of people are talking about Aaron Donald being gone and how hard it is to replace a Hall of Famer, a future Hall of Famer. Taking Aaron Donald aside, because we're not comparing Brandon Fisk or Jared Verse to Aaron Donald. It's a new vibe. It's a new energy. It's a new team. Okay. Aaron Donald's great in his own right, but I do think that there's a world where the defense doesn't take a step back. And the reason I feel that way is because I do think Braden Fisk and Jared Verse are going to be a dynamic duo next year. Verse is going to overpower and out hustle the tackles, and then you're going to get the sheer strength from Braden Fisk. Even last year, you look at the amount of sacks Jared Verse got, a lot of people that are close to the team say Braden Fisk is the silent, he's the hero behind the scenes. And the reason that Jared Verse was able to have the type of season that he did, to have his draft stock go as high as it did, to some he was considered the best edge, all of that, a lot of that is because Braden Fisk. Right? They both weren't on Florida State. They both transferred to Florida State together. And Now they're going to stay together. Fisk is definitely going to benefit from single block situations because of how good Jared Verse is. And this dude just has that workman-like mentality where he's going to, first off, he's an elite run stopper, and he's going to be amazing on third down. Both of these players we're going to see early in the season how good they are. And the fact that they're on the same team is just another bonus. Then we're going to look at Brian Murphy. Okay, Brian Murphy out of Texas. He was selected 16th overall to Seattle. He's a great fit in Seattle as an interior presence who can boost the run defense and uses quickness off the snap to push the pocket. And keep in mind, new head coach Mike MacDonald and defensive coordinator Aiden Durd and Murphy can be effective from multiple spots in that alignment. So there's probably going to be a lot of four-man fronts from what we've seen from Mike MacDonald, but Byron Murphy, he's going to definitely be a guy. All right, 16th overall might have been a little too low. The ceiling is insane with this guy. And then we're going to go back to another edge, Dallas Turner, who is drafted 17th overall to the Vikings after they drafted their hope franchise quarterback. Turner's going to be a defensive force for the Vikings. By the midway point of his rookie campaign, he might even be picking up defensive rookie of the year type of attention. He can also drop into zone. He can fight tackles, playing the run. I mean, he's really an all-around player. Then we're going to look at now, I just have a feeling this one is going to work really, really well. This is a round 3 pick, but think about this. Jim Harbaugh, defensive guy, known for nasty players, drafting his linebacker from Michigan, Junior Colson. Okay, Jim Harbaugh would draft at least one of his Michigan standouts, and I think this was the guy that he liked the most. Yeah, I mean, he could have been picked in day 2, in my opinion. Well, day 2 is round 2 and 3, but I mean round 2, he could have been picked. He fills run lanes. He's good at chasing backs to the outside, whether it's a stretch play or a throw to the flat. He has the speed to catch up to the running backs. I expect him to crack the top, or to at least get 100 tackles this season and just be flying around. This guy is a playmaker. He's got a nose for the football, and Jim Harbaugh has been coaching him for years at this point. Let's talk about the Packers linebacker Edgerrin Cooper out of Texas A&M, drafted 45th overall. You could make a case that Cooper's coming to a perfect situation in Green Bay, where his closing speed and toughness will force offenses to account for him on every play. And you keep in mind, first round pick in 2022, Quay Walker will be the primary linebackers in new defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley's scheme. So he's not going to be getting all the attention Edgerrin Cooper. Cooper should put up solid numbers across the board as a rookie. He'll pick off a pass or two. He'll accumulate a few sacks on blitzes, and he'll finish first or second on the team in tackles. And yeah, this guy's in a very good situation in Green Bay. Let's talk about the Raiders linebacker, Tommy Eichenberg, who, man, this guy was really falling down the board. I couldn't believe how far he slid, and I was really upset when the Raiders drafted him, because I think when the Raiders drafted him, the Broncos picked immediately after, and I was really hoping, because of the fall, I was hoping the Broncos would get him. Eichenberg could earn snaps as a middle linebacker for the Raiders, allowing Robert Spillane and Devine Diablo to play outside on early downs. The stout run defender is going to make a lot of tackles with Christian Wilkins, John Jenkins, and others eating blocks in front of him. He might not spend a lot of time on the field in obvious passing situations, but considering the team ranked 21st against the run last year, the former Buckeye is going to fill an important need for the Raiders. And keep in mind also, head coach Antonio Pierce, a defensive guy. So I always say that's going to help. Let's talk about another guy that was falling down the board, the best corner in the draft, in some people's opinion, Terrion Arnold. Cornerback was the top need in the draft for the Lions. they were able to move up for him when he was still available at 24. The Lions were like, look, I can't take this anymore. We're moving up. This guy can combine with veteran trade acquisition Carlton Davis and second rounder Ennis Rakestraw Jr. Ennis Rakestraw Jr., the guy that played on the other side of him at Iowa, the Broncos drafted. Both players, I think, are going to be solid. I expect Arnold to attack the ball for Detroit, likely intercepting and breaking up multiple passes. Um, I think early in the season, you're going to see the whole quarterbacks from the opposing team. I want to challenge the rookie. I don't think they're going to challenge the rookie. I think people are going to learn pretty quick that when Alabama brings a polished corner into the draft, you got Patrick Surtain. Brian Branch is still on the team too. Former Alabama teammate Brian Branch handling the nickel duties. I mean, somehow the Lions are a better team this year. And the cornerback that also, we're going to talk about two corners. Cooper DeJean, not even drafted in the first round. I'm going to honorably mention him here. Okay. Because both Terrion Arnold and Quentin Mitchell dropped further in the first round than most people expected because of the run on quarterbacks and offensive linemen in the top 20. But Quinion Mitchell's size, speed, and length make him a pass breakup machine, and that's why I gave him the edge over Cooper DeJean. He'll get plenty of support from all the addition of Cooper DeJean. He's definitely going to lift the Eagles defense back to a championship caliber defense, in my opinion. The fact that the Eagles just do this every single draft is so frustrating, especially if you're a Giants fan or a Cowboys fan or a Commanders fan. Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean were the second and third best corner, and somehow this team drafted both of them without moving up. Get real. At safety, Javon Bullard out of Georgia, second round pick from the Packers, just missing the top 50. He was picked at 58th overall. He can make plays on the ball and secure open field tackles, whether he's lined up deep or inside the box. That makes him a great complement to free agent addition Xavier McKinney from the Giants. Defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley will have the flexibility to play single high or two deep. Bullard is kind of made a name for himself for making big plays in big games during his career in Georgia. If he does the same thing for the Packers, it should lead to a successful Packers rookie season and get him a spot on the all-rookie team. Another safety. If you haven't noticed, we're doing two positions at a time, or two players from the same position. Cole Bishop. And this is something Buffalo really needed. Jordan Poyer departed for Miami. Micah Hyde's still a free agent. His future uncertain. So the door opened this offseason for the Bills general manager to try to make a move for one of the best safeties in the draft. And Bishop was one of the league's better safeties in this year's draft. He's also a really good tackler. He's good at stopping ball carriers in the open field. He's got amazing athleticism and knowledge of the game. He's capable as a blitzer. He was, at least while he was at Utah. I know the NFL is a little different, but it helps that he demonstrated that he is capable of it. And he was able to bait quarterbacks to throw his way in coverage, which is really important for a ball hawk safety, right? You got to disguise that the receiver is open and then jump it. And with that aggressiveness does come some mistakes, but because he has such a strong knowledge of the game, I expect him to be able to minimize the mistakes and accentuate the things that he does well. I think he's going to be really good right off the bat. Now, perhaps his role on the team might not be crazy right off the bat. He might not have a ton of playing time, but I expect as the season comes on that he's not only going to get more snaps from the Bills, but become a respected player early in his NFL career. And then for kicker, I went with Cam Little. And real quick, Bill said, the McKinney jersey came in my buddy's birthday present. That's sick. Is he must be a Giants fan as well. Um, and Embrace the Struggle said, I know, right? Such a shame. Sorry, Kyle. I like Patrick Surtain. Certain. I like how you wrote that. Or I guess that's how it looks, but it's a U. Actually, I have it in the background, but you can't see. Oh, yeah, you can. Surtain. It's a Packers jersey. Gotcha. Okay. Cam Little, thumbs up. Yeah, Cam Little drafted in the 6th round, and that's number 212 overall. He was the 3rd kicker selected in April, but he's shown an ability to deliver in clutch. Um, it wouldn't be shocking if he made multiple field goals at 55 plus yards, even as a rookie. He never missed an extra point at Arkansas. He created touchbacks on over 85% of his kicks. The Jaguars tied for 8th in the NFL last season with 37 field goal attempts and tied for 4th with 10 attempts from 50 plus yards. If Jacksonville remains on that pace next year, Little will have plenty of opportunities to show off his confident swing. Keep in mind, though, that the Jaguars' offense wasn't really fully clicking. A lot of times when you're settling for field goals, you have an offense that's too good to get a 3 and out, but they're just not clicking. So it sounds like Jacksonville had a lot of scenarios where they get a touchback, start at the 25, they pick up a first down, balls on the 35, maybe let's say it was a 15-yard game, 40. All right, run the ball twice, 3rd and 4, first down. Now we're at midfield. Okay, and you get a 3 and out, and it's 4th and 2 on the 42-yard line. I mean, that could have happened a ton for the Jaguars, where it's like the offense isn't clicking, but Trevor Lawrence is just not gonna get a 3 and out every time. He's too good. So I'm not going to really look at the numbers and say, well, if Jacksonville was 5th with 50 plus yard field goals last year, then he'll have plenty of opportunities, because it's possible that the Jaguars offensively are going to be better this year, especially when Trevor Lawrence was hurt. And for a punter, and real quick, I'm going to see X went to Giants, Packers, so I got it for him. Oh, X went Giants to, oh, yeah. And Embrace the Struggle. I need my vision checked. LOL. It will be interesting to see how teams handle 4th down this season compared to last season. And I was just going to say the same thing about kickers. I mean, you talk about 85% of his kickoffs at Arkansas were touchbacks. The kickoffs are going to look totally different. And I'm not even going to get into that, because I've already had an episode where I got into it, and I just seem to, I understand it. I don't want to put it on a pedestal like, oh, I get more confused. That's not true, but it is just one of those things that it's different. And until I really see it, I'm only going to be able to understand it so much. So that is a whole monster of its own. So punter Tory Taylor from the Bears, and the Bears did draft this punter in the 4th round. And I thought that was kind of a stretch. But the Bears, when you draft Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams, you're ready to just call it a night. You're like, let's just get the punter and be done with it. They were doing interviews in the middle of the 5th, 6th, 7th round. You got the Bears general manager doing interviews. So that told you that they weren't making phone calls to move back up. They got what they wanted, and they were like, we're done. Okay. Obviously, with Caleb Williams, they're hoping that the Bears will have an explosive offense, and they won't require Tory Taylor to be on the field very often, like when he averaged nearly 7 kicks a game for the lackluster Iowa offense last year. But as the only punter drafted this year, he'll be on an all-rookie pick if he booms punts and regularly paces them inside the 10-yard line when given the chance. Tory Taylor, it's kind of like when I was at the Warrior games. You have these different classes based on age and the type of injury. And there were some games that you'd play, and it's like, and it didn't happen to me, but it happened to some other people, where it's like there's only 3 people in that group. So it's like no matter what happens, you're winning a medal. This is where Tory Taylor is this year. Like, he's going to be on the all-rookie team as long as he doesn't suck, because he was the only punter that was drafted in this year's draft. Okay? Next, well, no, not next. Well, yeah, our next episode. But on Friday, we are going to be diving into the offense that I am projecting. Offense is going to be a lot of fun. Like I mentioned earlier, there was a run on quarterbacks and offensive linemen in the first 20 picks. There's a lot of highly talented people that I had to go through and select. So I'm going to be giving you my offensive players on Friday for the all-rookie team. Of course, tomorrow we're going to be doing the Only Football podcast on the Only Football podcast. We'll have Rick back, and we'll be doing that tomorrow. So definitely check that out as well. By the way, Anthony Richardson will be a full-go in training camp. So I just wanted to throw that out there, along with Austin Eckler aims to reclaim his role as a top fantasy running back in Washington. And Jeffrey Simmons, Titans defensive tackle, can't wait to trash talk Bears quarterback Caleb Williams in week 1. Those are his words. This was during an appearance on the Rich Eisen show. He said, I've had the ref come to me with, like, you have to calm it down. Sometimes the ref probably heard me really talking smack. He's like, 9, 8, calm down. It's been like that a couple times. They went on to say painted nails. I can't wait to say that to him. Most definitely. It's going to be one of those games. I mean, he's probably going to get smack talked by his teammates right now, but especially a game like that. My first game, of course, I missed the last end of the season. It's going to be the first game of the season. They got us coming to Chicago. All the hype's going to be around them, of course. But I mean, you already are starting to get regular season energy out of these players. So those are just some like small storylines that I wanted to cover really quick. Embrace the struggle said if Anthony Richardson stays healthy, he definitely has MVP potential. Very interesting. I don't know. I'm seeing that from other people. I just feel like that's a big jump. I'm like, let's just see if he can stay healthy. But I like it. You got your guy, right? I thought he looked really good when I saw him. So I just don't know if he's going to have a better year than CJ Stroud or Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes. But hey, I mean, there's a surprise at the NFL every year, and maybe it will be Anthony Richardson. But thank you guys for tuning in tonight, Wednesday, June 26th. I'm really, really happy to be doing this on my own channel along with the Only Football podcast, but it's nice to be able to build an audience. I think we had 70 views on my last video that we did, which is the most that we've gotten on these videos. On our interviews, we've gotten a couple of them over 100, but you can see that this is channel is starting to build some momentum, and I'm really excited about it. Bill said, good job, Kyle. Thank you, Bill. And of course, you guys can follow me at NFL with Kyle, and you can always follow the YouTube channel at Kyle Kitzman, KyleKitzman. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and staying till the end. And I'll see you guys tomorrow on the Only Football podcast. See ya!